The liberal mind cannot comprehend why life matters.
The last rodeo,
debate?
Angel Studios.
An abortion debate? Oh no.
All right, so thank you for coming, Charlie. My question to you, I mean, I'm a medical student, and so I'm going to throw out the big A word. I know you get asked about it a lot, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, medicine is anti-God because medicine's not natural. And we should all die at the age of 20 because if we intervene in the natural process of death, then God does not like that. Right, Charlie?
Opinion is on abortion.
Life begins at conception.
But about abortion specifically. Why do you think abortion's wrong specifically?
Well, you agree murder is wrong?
I agree. Okay, so this is where we get to the question, right? Because what is it about murder you say is wrong? Like, why is murder wrong?
Well, because it's a human being, not just because it has consciousness or because it's of a certain age, because it's a human.
What is it that gives human beings?
Charlie Kirk is really jumping the gun here. Charlie Kirk is assuming the argument. He already brought up like consciousness, which is probably going to be the argument. I assume part of it. But this guy wants to get to a different question here in ethics, not just jumping to the whole does consciousness determine life or personhood thing.
Being this moral worth.
Not its consciousness necessarily.
I didn't say it's consciousness.
I know that's.
Yeah, see,
I can
Charlie
imagine
jumped the gun on that.
because it is a human being because that has a soul.
And what is this soul? Where does this come from? This idea that it's
exactly. I mean, again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can laugh. I mean, it's true. I mean, every civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West and what the birth certificate of my country articulates, that every human being is more than just matter, it's more than just a clump of cells, but it also has an invisible element to you that will live beyond you.
Fine, so, I mean, can you say that comes from the Bible, or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West. And again, the Declaration of Independence mentions God.
When the government tells you that you cannot get an abortion when you're about to die and you must have a C-section as a woman because of Charlie Kirk's mono what did he say?
Or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the
ethical monotheism, and also your spirit is not bounded by your body, and our version of a soul in his religion ought to dictate if you as a woman have the ability to receive medical care for an abortion. So Charlie Kirk's religion here, he has nothing to reason on in real life, okay? Only his religious beliefs. Now, Charlie Kirk is going to try to make this seem like a real argument grounded in secular fact, but he's going to fail, I assume.
Creed of the West. And again, the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. The founders were explicitly believed, not in a secular morality, but a divinely given one, of at least this idea that there is a God and you are not him. And let me ask you, what is the first stage of human development?
So this is the thing, right? We can take it from...
By the way, fun fact, the U.S. Constitution, all right? The Constitution does not mention God once, okay? So the Constitution, the founding principle of our rights and limits on government power, it does not mention God being a part of that foundation in the Constitution. Now, the Declaration is more of a personalized document for the separation and a lot of the motivation behind our founding fathers, separating. But like the actual Constitution does not mention God once.
What is the first stage of human development?
So this is the thing, right? We can take it from the sperm being generated in the father and the oocyte being generated in the mother, right? They fuse at birth, conception, sorry. The only thing that happens at conception is these 2 cells fuse.
Right? No, DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
No, that's not true. The DNA coding at the zygote. Hold on.
DNA is not created. You don't
Does a
create
zygote
DNA.
have a unique marker?
Charlie, DNA...
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
You have to let me speak. You have to
answer it, yes or no.
It's only unique because it's the parents combining. It's not new.
Meaning, can you differentiate the DNA coding between the mother and the zygote if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis? Can you?
Did Charlie Kirk just say the full name of DNA, the legal full name of DNA to sound more sophisticated and smart? Did he really just have to pull out the whole full legal name of DNA on main right now?
Mother and the zygote, if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis, can you?
Only purely because the addition comes from the father.
Oh, so it is something different.
Charlie, DNA is not created. DNA is not created. You have the father has his own genome, the mother has her own genome. They fuse. This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these 2 cells joining, right? But these 2 cells were created, the mother cells were created long before, they were created when she was a fetus. So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So
by the way, really quick, please drop a like. We have 800 viewers. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe if you're watching back on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll take some phone calls later on if you want. If you really want to talk to me, then stick around. Join Discord, join the show, join the conversation. Appreciate all of you for watching. Even the haters, especially the haters. All right, I'll respond to this video after I rewind a little bit first, so I hear the whole argument again. My bad.
This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these two cells joining, right? But these two cells were created, the mother cells were created long before, they were created when she was a fetus. So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So we can't establish, the only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse. Now this idea that means that for some reason, suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these two cells who had half the DNA, but suddenly there's a
Correct. Yeah, something magical happens at that.
It's not magical, Charlie. We know about this.
Something magical, bro. Bro, you're gonna make bro. You're gonna make a woman get a C-section and risk dying because of something magical, because something magical happens, Charlie. Something magical, bro. Magical.
It wasn't there before.
Is this Disneyland?
Half the DNA, but suddenly there's a
Correct. Yes, something magical happens at that.
It's not magical, Charlie. We know about this.
Well, hold on.
Charlie.
Time out. Hold on.
Charlie, I promise you, I'm not trying to score points. I'm not trying to score points on you. This is genuinely.
We call it the miracle of life for a reason. We've not been able to yet replicate human life development outside of the womb.
We call it the miracle of life because yes, it's something beautiful. The ability to form a new.
Magical.
It's not. You say magical is it? Oh, it's beautiful. It's an incredible thing that happens, of course. But it's not incredible in the sense we don't know what's going on. There's no new DNA coming out of nowhere.
Hold on, but time out. Isn't there a separate DNA though than the mother?
Yes, from the father.
Okay, yes, but it's not the father's DNA either. A new coding is created.
Charlie,
you are a blend of the two. And so when did your life begin?
Okay, so
when did your life begin?
I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now, you say about this mother thing. So the way DNA is arranged in a cell is it's arranged in chromosomes. Chromosomes are paired up, so you have one from the mother, one from the father, typically, in a healthy individual, right? Now, you can take those maternal chromosomes out, and you can find that this is who the person's mother is, and you can do the same with the father. Now, the reason you are different to your mother and father is because some of those chromosomes express genes that are different from each other, and so those genes interact, and that's what gives rise to you, right? But there's no space for any kind of moral framework to come into that until you consider that a human being is capable of consciousness and of suffering. But if you take that out of the equation, the fact that these two DNA, whatever they call molecules, right? These two DNA molecules are fusing, that does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual.
My favorite comment, Jolah, are you a Jew? My favorite comment from Trump supporters. Thank you, chatter.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to score points.
Then, by what moral standard do you believe that?
I believe that if an individual is capable of suffering, then it's wrong. Now, can I explain my opinion on abortion, just so you can understand? I would agree.
Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. Also, consider supporting my channel in the description down below. Thank you.
Agree, as many reasonable people would, that at 9 months,
Now, this part makes me really upset because Charlie Kirk has said nothing of value this entire conversation. And now this student, had him back to a corner. And now the student needs to critique their position, all right? They're critiquing their position now. And allowing Charlie Kirk to run away from his very obvious mishandling of the facts.
It's unreasonable to expect someone to get an abortion, right? Unless you have some extreme circumstances. But for an elective abortion seems a bit radical to me. But it also seems radical to say that a woman who has just, the cells have just fused, to deny her of an abortion also seems wrong to me. Because that zygote is not capable of suffering, as far as we know.
So by what moral standard? Is that just your opinion? Where did you get that moral standard from?
Because suffering is a bad thing. We all know suffering is a bad thing. That's an objective fact, right?
Hold on. So you do believe in objective morality?
I believe that suffering is an objectively negative
So if you can't feel it, is it okay?
What do you mean if you can't?
You can't feel the pain, is it okay to inflict the pain?
In the sense that if no one's suffering from it, if you have a scenario when nobody is suffering from something, then yes, of course. There's no...
The word suffering does not only mean feeling pain. You can suffer and not feel pain necessarily. Even if you're completely numb, if you have your arm cut off, you're still going to suffer. You're still going to be disadvantaged and suffer psychologically or suffer in some way. The only way for you to not suffer at all from these things would be for you to be brain dead necessarily. So the word suffer does not just mean pain. It does not just mean pain like Charlie's trying to make it. Charlie's trying to make it seem like suffer just means pain. So if something does not feel pain, it's no longer a moral harm.
There's no a moral. Something is only a moral question if it affects someone's well-being.
So let me just make sure I understand this correctly. that if it doesn't affect their well-being, so dementia patients that don't know who they are or where they're from.
It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, dude. Charlie Kirk has no position of his own. So now the rest of this conversation is going to be him hiding, bro. It's so annoying. The student should have kept Charlie Kirk on the point hardcore, bro. Charlie Kirk was talking like he's visiting the Magic Kingdom at Disneyland about like why personhood and morality is assigned to conception. Like, oh my god.
We execute dementia patients because they're confused about their well-being.
Can you imagine a scenario?
Or Alzheimer's patients.
Charlie,
Alzheimer's patients don't really know much about anything. Can we schedule them for execution because they can't technically suffer?
No response. So, can you imagine a scenario where we lived in a society where we killed people?
He fell for the trap.
You know, they suffered from dementia, were incapable of suffering, and we killed them, right? It's not a scenario that involves an absence of suffering. There's still suffering involved. Imagine you grow up thinking, my dad could be killed at any moment because he's going to get dementia. Imagine living your life thinking, I could get dementia and suddenly I'd be killed by my
Now this is an entire moral conversation about the euthanization of like, elderly patients and individuals that don't remember things or they have other ailments. So like, the conversation's completely derailed, bro. Charlie Kirk was getting so cooked, but now he's winning. Okay, Charlie Kirk is winning this conversation because this guy could not keep his eyes on the damn ball, and he should be able to because he has rather large eyeballs.
Imagine a world where you slaughter 1 million babies every year in America.
Charlie, it's not slaughter. That's the problem.
Hold on, it's a forcible removal.
Yeah, but you
from
gave
the
up that point.
cord of another human life. Again,
you gave up that point once you moved on.
We have clarity, but not agreement. Biologically, you know that your entire coding began at conception. Your coding, your uniqueness.
That's what I'm denying. I disagree with that.
Okay, when those two cells fused together, to use your terminology,
yes.
That is where the process of human
accepted terminology.
In the interest of time, can we bring this question to a close?
The process of human development objectively begins at that moment. Therefore, those human beings are deserving of human rights. We keep going, or do you want to?
No, thank you. Yeah, you can finish.
The process of development begins from the moment the sperm is being generated in the father, the moment the eggs are being generated in the mother. To say that suddenly the moral worth switches on when they fuse doesn't make any sense. That's just a point you've taken.
It makes perfect sense because that is when your journey as a human being. When the sperm and egg were separate, you were not yet a fused human being. You were not created uniquely.
DNA existed.
An image.
Your DNA existed. I thought.
Well,
Okay, I'm done, bro. A full review of the conversation. Really annoying how Charlie Kirk escaped every single difficult question. Yeah, that's a huge fumble by the student. I'm really upset with this person because they had Charlie Kirk in a terrible position. The crowd was on his side, and he fell for being a good faith actor. But remember that if you talk to someone like Charlie Kirk is very media trained. So if you're a good faith person, you're gonna lose that conversation. All right. Because if you are good faith and you approach Charlie Kirk, who you know is not in good faith, all right, you need to know that going in. You know Charlie Kirk is a propagandist. You need to be a little bit of a propagandist yourself in that scenario. Caring about optics, caring about the flow of conversation. The debate is only won if the crowd can see that you've won, if the crowd is convinced more by your perspective. But if you get too into the weeds, it doesn't matter if you win a debate in your like philosophy class, okay? And this student completely just failed. Really upsetting. Every single one of us is media. For us to overcome what's happening right now, we all need to push in the right direction. Whether you make your own content, if you share my content or another creator you like, thank you so much for supporting this. We all need to do our job. And I really appreciate what you have to give, whether it's financial or not. If you cannot afford to donate, do not donate. Share the video around, drop a like, comment, subscribe. You are helping more than you could ever imagine.